Welcome to Gripping Tales. Are you ready for today's video? It starts now.
You know that feeling when you finally get the job you've been chasing for years? When everything clicks into place and you feel like your life is finally starting? Sarah Bellamy felt exactly that way on March 3, 2023. 28 years old, newly minted MBA, drowning in student loans, and she'd just received an offer letter from Ascendant Solutions, a tech startup that was absolutely blowing up. They were in Forbes, TechCrunch. Everyone in the industry was talking about their revolutionary approach to corporate culture and employee optimization. The salary? $140,000 base, plus stock options. For a junior management position. Sarah almost cried when she got the call. Her roommate opened champagne. Her parents were so proud they posted about it on Facebook, which, if you know parents, is basically them taking out a billboard. There was just one requirement before she could start: a 3-day immersive orientation retreat at the company's facility in the Cascade Mountains. All expenses paid. Team building, training, meeting the leadership team. Standard corporate stuff. Everyone does it, the recruiter said, all smiles and enthusiasm. It's how we build the Ascendant family. You're gonna love it. Everyone does. That phrase should have been a red flag. Everyone does. But Sarah was too excited to notice, too grateful, too ready to prove she belonged. She packed her bags for 3 days in the mountains, kissed her cat goodbye, and drove north toward what she thought was the beginning of her dream career. She had no idea she was driving toward a nightmare that would make her question everything about reality, identity, and whether she'd ever actually leave those mountains at all. The Ascendant Solutions Retreat Center was beautiful. I want to be clear about that. This wasn't some creepy compound with barbed wire and weird symbols. This was nice, modern architecture. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking pine forests. Expensive furniture. A commercial kitchen that looked like it belonged on a cooking show. There was a yoga studio. A meditation garden. A full gym. It looked like a luxury wellness resort. Which, in hindsight, was exactly the point. Sarah arrived on a Friday afternoon with 19 other new hires. They were all her age, give or take, all hungry, ambitious, grateful to be there, home. All wearing the company-branded hoodies they'd been sent with their welcome packets. The orientation leader was a woman named Rebecca Ashford, probably mid-40s, with the kind of serene smile that yoga instructors and cult leaders both perfect. She gathered everyone in the main hall. "Welcome," Rebecca said, "to the beginning of your transformation." People laughed nervously. Corporate speak, right? Transformation, synergy, disruption. Just buzzwords. "Over the next 3 days," Rebecca continued, "you're going to discover who you really are. Not the person society told you to be. Not the person your parents expected. The real you. The you that Ascendant sees and values and wants to unleash." Sarah glanced around. Everyone was nodding enthusiastically. She nodded too. This was just team-building nonsense. Every company did this kind of thing. "First rule," Rebecca said, her smile never wavering. "No phones. We're here to connect with each other, not with the outside world. You can get them back Sunday evening." People shifted uncomfortably, but hey, reasonable enough. "Digital detox. Very on-brand for a wellness-focused company. Second rule, no leaving the property. Everything you need is here. We're creating a sacred space for growth, and that requires commitment and presence." Again, weird, but not that weird. It was a corporate retreat. You're supposed to stay for the program. Third rule, trust the process. Some exercises might seem unusual, might push you out of your comfort zone. That's where growth happens. That's where transformation begins. Sarah felt a tiny flutter of unease in her stomach, but she pushed it down. She was here for a job, a really, really good job. She could handle 3 days of corporate weirdness. Everyone handed over their phones. Rebecca locked them in a safe right there in front of them. "Sunday evening," she promised. "You'll get them all back." And with that, the transformation began. The first session was at 6 a.m. Sarah had barely slept. The beds were weirdly uncomfortable despite looking expensive, and there was some kind of white noise system that was just slightly too loud to ignore. Everyone gathered in workout clothes for what Rebecca called morning activation. It was essentially a HIIT workout from hell. 45 minutes of burpees, sprints, and exercises designed to exhaust you. Several people threw up. Rebecca called it releasing toxins. Then, without time to shower, They were herded into a conference room for breakfast. Except there wasn't much breakfast. Green smoothies, some kind of grain bowl that tasted like cardboard. Coffee, but weak. Definitely not enough food for people who just destroyed themselves in a workout. We're cleansing your system, Rebecca explained. Detoxing from the processed corporate poison you've been consuming. Your body will thank you. Sarah's body mostly wanted bacon, but whatever. She could tough it out. The morning session was called Deconstructing the False Self. They sat in a circle while Rebecca guided them through a series of increasingly personal questions. Who told you that you needed to be successful? What parts of your personality are performance, not authenticity? When did you start lying to yourself about what you really want? It started to feel less like team building and more like therapy. Aggressive therapy. People started crying, sharing deep traumas. Childhood wounds, fears they'd never spoken aloud. And here's the thing, it felt good. Cathartic. Like finally being seen. Rebecca validated everything, praised their vulnerability, called them brave. But looking back, Sarah would realize this was step one. Break down their defenses. Make them emotionally raw. Strip away the armor. Because you can't rebuild someone until you've torn down who they used to be. Lunch was just as minimal. Dinner was worse. A tiny portion of quinoa and vegetables that left everyone starving. Hunger sharpens the mind, one of the senior staff members said, a guy named Marcus who'd been through this orientation 2 years ago. You're training your body to need less, to want less, to be more. By evening, Sarah was exhausted, hungry, and emotionally drained from hours of group therapy disguised as team building. That's when the love bombing started. The senior Ascendant employees, about a dozen of them who'd come up for the weekend, gathered the new hires for what they called family dinner. They sat in a big circle on cushions on the floor. Candles everywhere. Soft music. And then, one by one, the senior employees went around the circle telling each new hire why they were special. Sarah, I can see your light. You're going to do incredible things here. James, your energy is exactly what this family needs. We're so lucky to have you. Amanda, you're going to transform lives. I can feel it. It sounds manipulative when I describe it, and it was. But in the moment, when you're exhausted and hungry and emotionally raw, having a room full of successful people tell you that you're special and chosen and valued, it's intoxicating, Sarah cried. Several people did. They hugged. They held hands. Rebecca led them in some kind of chant. Something about rising together and transcending limits. Sarah went to bed that night feeling like she'd found something she didn't know she was looking for. A family. A purpose. A tribe. She didn't notice that they'd been awake for nearly 20 hours. That she'd eaten maybe 800 calories all day. That her critical thinking was starting to shut down from exhaustion and manipulation. That was the point. Day 2 started at 5 a.m. with a sunrise ceremony. They stood in a circle outside in the freezing mountain air, holding hands while Rebecca led them through breathing exercises and guided meditation. Then they had to each speak an intention for their transformation. By now, the script was becoming clear. Everything was about transformation, transcendence, becoming your highest self. Corporate cult speak that was starting to feel less corporate and more just cult. But the peer pressure was intense. Everyone around Sarah was going along with it, smiling, crying tears of joy, talking about how life-changing this was. And the senior employees, they were so confident, so successful, so happy. They were living proof that whatever this was, it worked. After another brutal workout and another pathetic breakfast, they had a session called Meeting Your Authentic Purpose. This is where things got weird. Rebecca dimmed the lights, put on droning music, had them lie on the floor and close their eyes. Then she guided them through what she called a visioning exercise, but what was actually just hypnosis. You're floating in darkness. All the expectations of your old life are falling away. Your parents, voices, society's demands, your own limiting beliefs, they're dissolving. You're empty now, empty and ready to be filled with purpose, with truth, with your authentic self. Her voice went on, hypnotic, rhythmic. and Sarah felt herself drifting, her exhausted mind unable to resist. Now you see it, the future you're meant to create. You're here at Ascendant. You're powerful. You're free. You're exactly who you were always meant to be. This is your family. This is your home. This is your truth. When they woke up from the exercise, several people were sobbing, talking about visions they'd seen, revelations they'd experienced. Sarah felt different. Like something had shifted inside her. She couldn't quite articulate it. But the resistance she'd been feeling, that small voice of doubt, it was quieter now. That evening, they had the ceremony of commitment. Everyone dressed in white clothes that had been provided for them. They gathered in the main hall, which had been transformed. Candles everywhere. Incense, strange symbols projected onto the walls. Geometric patterns that Rebecca called sacred geometry, but that looked uncomfortably like something you'd see in an actual cult documentary. The senior employees sat on chairs in a semicircle. The new hires stood facing them. Rebecca began to speak, and her voice had changed. More formal, more serious. "You've been given a gift," she said, "the opportunity to join something greater than yourself. Now, with that gift comes responsibility, comes sacrifice, comes choice." She explained that Ascendant wasn't just a company. It was a conscious collective, a family bound not by blood but by shared purpose and commitment to elevation. Your old life was based on limitation, on scarcity, on competition. We're offering you abundance, unity, transcendence. But you have to choose it. You have to commit. Then came the contracts. Actual physical contracts. Several pages long, legal language. Sarah tried to read hers, but her eyes were blurry from exhaustion. The words swam on the page. "It's just formalizing your employment," Marcus whispered to her, smiling. "Don't overthink it." The contracts included clauses about dedicated commitment to the collective's mission, about living according to Ascendant principles, about prioritizing the family above external relationships that might impede growth. Warning bells should have been screaming, but Sarah was so tired, so hungry, so emotionally manipulated. And everyone else was signing, smiling, happy. She signed. They all did. Rebecca collected the contracts, and then they did another ceremony, some kind of group pledge, where they held hands and recited words about transcendence and commitment and family. Sarah felt tears streaming down her face. But she wasn't sure if they were tears of joy or something else entirely. Day 3 was when Sarah's brain started fighting back. Maybe it was getting a tiny bit more food at breakfast. Maybe it was actually sleeping more than 4 hours. But something in her mind cleared slightly, and she started seeing what had happened over the past 2 days. During the morning session, another round of exhausting group therapy, she noticed things. How Rebecca's questions were designed to isolate people from their support systems. Who in your life doesn't understand your potential? Who holds you back? Who would try to convince you not to grow? People named friends, family members, partners. Mecca validated their concerns. Suggested that maybe those people were anchors, keeping them from their highest self. Sarah caught the eye of another new hire across the circle. A guy named David. He looked as unsettled as she felt. They shared a brief moment of mutual recognition. This is wrong. This is really, really wrong. At lunch, Sarah managed to sit next to David, away from the senior employees. "Hey," she whispered. Is this weird to you?" David's relief was palpable. "Oh my God, yes. I thought I was going crazy. Everyone else seems so into it." "I think we need to leave. They have our phones, our car keys. We're miles from anywhere." Sarah's stomach dropped. "We're not prisoners. They can't keep us here." "Can't they? Did you read that contract we signed?" "I tried to last night. I couldn't sleep. And Sarah, there's language in there about voluntary commitment to residential training and agreement to complete transformational protocols. I think we just signed away our ability to leave." Before Sarah could respond, Rebecca appeared behind them. "Sarah, David," she said, that smile never wavering. "Why are you isolating from the family? Come join the group." It wasn't a request. The final event was Sunday evening, the Ascension ceremony. By this point, Sarah was terrified but trying desperately to hide it. She and David had tried to leave that afternoon, simply walk to the entrance. But it was locked. Keypad entry. And when they asked about it, Rebecca had said, "The ceremony first, then you're free to go. But why would you want to leave your family?" The ceremony was in a room Sarah hadn't seen before. Deeper in the facility. Dimmer. More candles, more incense, more of those geometric symbols. All 20 new hires were led in, still in their white clothes. The senior employees surrounded them in a circle. And then the founder arrived. He called himself Silas. Just Silas. Probably 60, with silver hair and expensive casual clothes. He radiated charisma the way some people radiate warmth. "My children," he said, arms spread wide. "You've completed your journey. You've shed your old selves. You're reborn as your authentic truth, as part of the Ascendant family." He walked around the circle, touching each person's head, murmuring something in a language Sarah didn't recognize. When he got to her, his eyes locked onto hers. And for just a second, his smile dropped. He knew she was resisting. Knew she wanted to leave. His hand on her head felt like ice. "Some take longer to fully ascend," he said quietly, just to her. "But they all do. Eventually, the ones who resist. They just need more time, more commitment." It was a threat, clear as day. Sarah and David made their move at 2 a.m. They'd pretended to be all in during the final ceremony. Hugged everyone. Cried. Played the part. But when everyone went to bed, they stayed awake. The facility was quiet. Sarah had pocketed a keycard she'd seen Rebecca drop earlier. She prayed it would work on the main entrance. They crept through the halls. Every creak of floorboards sounded like an alarm. But they made it to the entrance. The keycard worked. The door opened, and mountain air hit their faces like salvation. They ran. Just ran. Into the forest, down the dark road, not even sure where they were going. Just away. Away from Ascendant, away from Silas. Away from the family that wasn't a family. They walked for 3 hours before they found a highway. Flagged down a trucker who took one look at these two terrified people in white clothes and didn't ask questions, just drove them to the nearest town. Sarah called her roommate from a gas station payphone, remember those? And sobbed for 20 minutes. She never went back, never collected her phone out, never officially started the job. She contacted a lawyer, tried to report what had happened. But here's the thing, she'd signed that contract. She'd gone voluntarily, she'd participated in everything. What law had been broken? Here's where it gets worse. Sarah thought she'd escaped, thought it was over. But 3 weeks later, she started getting messages. Emails from accounts she didn't recognize. LinkedIn requests from Ascendant employees. "We miss you, Sarah. The family isn't complete without you. You felt it, didn't you? That connection, that purpose. Come back. Come home." Her apartment was broken into, but nothing was stolen. Just moved. Her furniture rearranged, pictures turned face down, a message left on her bathroom mirror, and what she hoped was lipstick. Family, forever. She moved. Changed her number. Deleted her social media. But every few months, something would happen. A package with no return address, containing a white hoodie, an envelope with that contract she'd signed. Photos of her from the retreat that she didn't remember being taken. And here's the twist that'll keep you up at night. Sarah started researching Ascendant Solutions. Turns out it's a subsidiary of a larger consulting firm that runs these orientation retreats for dozens of companies. Real companies. Legitimate businesses. They offer immersive corporate culture training. And it works. Most people who go through it, they don't run. They drink the Kool-Aid. They become devoted employees who work 80-hour weeks, who recruit their friends, who cut off family members, who don't understand the mission. There are thousands of them out there. In tech companies, in finance, in marketing firms, living what looks like normal corporate lives, but actually operating as members of a distributed cult hidden in plain sight. Sarah found online forums, carefully hidden, encrypted, of people who'd escaped, or tried to. Dozens of stories just like hers. And here's the thing that haunts her most. David, The guy who escaped with her? 3 months later, he went back, voluntarily, walked right back into the facility. She got an email from him last month. Just 3 words. "I'm home, Sarah." She doesn't know if he was truly converted or if they're just making her think he was. If it's a psychological operation to make her doubt herself, doubt her decision to leave. But late at night, when she can't sleep, Sarah wonders, what if they were right? What if she gave up something real, a family, a purpose, a transformation, because she was too scared to commit? What if the people who stayed aren't victims? What if they're the lucky ones? That's what the cult does best. It makes you doubt. Makes you question. Makes you wonder if maybe, just maybe, you made the wrong choice by leaving. Sarah still gets messages. Still gets packages. Still finds evidence that they're watching. And the worst part? Ascendant Solutions is still running. Still recruiting. Still running those orientation retreats for eager young professionals who just landed their dream jobs. Somewhere in the mountains, right now, 20 new hires are starting day 1 of their transformation, handing over their phones, trusting the process, signing contracts they don't quite understand. And maybe you know someone who just started an amazing new job, who came back from orientation changed, more devoted to their work, a little distant from old friends, to us, talking about their work family with that special gleam in their eyes. Maybe they went to a retreat in the mountains. Maybe they signed a contract. Maybe they're not working for a company anymore. Maybe the company owns them now. Sweet dreams, folks. And if you ever get a job offer that seems too good to be true, with an orientation retreat that sounds a little too immersive, maybe ask yourself, am I joining a company or am I joining something else entirely?
Thanks for watching. Every ending hides the beginning of another tale, and ours is already on its way. Stay tuned. You'll find the next chapter right here, and soon.